Hello. Hello. Thank you for clicking and watching this video. Wonderful to make contact with you. So I have been thirsting for a long time. Dick, no. For understanding what is it to be encountering this impulse of shamanism and to be gay, and because both of those things are very existential things. They both have such a profound perspectives on what it means to be, to exist, to relate to the world and to others. And the first thing to understand is that shamanism in Western culture, and I'm Italian Scottish, right? So I am the Roman Empire. And then potentially some Celtic stuff in there as well. But Rome did also take over that area. So the West is very much in the DNA of this body. And shamanism in the West, ever since the Roman Empire, has been vilified. And that vilification led eventually to secret societies that were practicing the mysteries. They became like secret mystery schools. They would teach about the mysteries of consciousness, the mysteries of being, the process of Gnosis. Gnosis is to come to awareness of thyself, which is your transcendent self. It's the self that exists beyond the egoic identity of I am this person born with these genetics and I like men. There's the self that exists beyond that is that which is witnessing that identity. It is the witnesser of our thoughts. It is the observer, the silent observer that's just sitting there always. Hello, I'm right here. Nice to meet you. Just around the corner, just when you didn't think I couldn't be there, but here I am. I don't do great Scottish, but I try a little bit. So that's a spiritual. It can be a deep investigation. It's actually much simpler than we give it credit for. But it's important. It's important because without culture, without a part of culture to guide us to connecting with thyself, we then become lost culturally. We lose contact with the divine. And that's what shamanism is. It's a bridge. It's a bridge between you could say, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, right? Which would be a bridge between the egoic physical vessel and the transcendent spiritual realm, right? So that would be the spirits, the guides, the angels, the demons, the elementals, the earth, the land itself. And that's a shaman. Shaman bridges that. And to come in to this life experience with a preference, like a sexual preference, like a root chakra preference. Root chakra deals with sex, deals with survival and continuation of the species. But of course, when you have this attraction that isn't going to It's not going to proliferate the human genes, but it can proliferate ideas. It can proliferate knowledge. And as we have evolved from just simply trying to spread our genes, and we've evolved into the higher chakras, right? The higher faculties of self-awareness and understanding, realization, divinity, communication, art, expression, nuance, reverence, faith, all these compassion, empathy, gratitude, these qualities literally transcend us from the survival, the mechanism. And yet it is sex and this energy, it is still that primal root energy of sex where we find union, we find oneness, where the experience, it is that primary example, primary ritual, that primary, like it's primary and primal ritual, right? It's like it's inbuilt into the system of this vessel, this body, that when we act out that ritual in sex, we recognize that we are not just ourselves, that we are also the other, that the other is also us. And it's that union of our energies which is given permission and entrained within us through the ritual of touching, through the ritual of sex, through making out and passion and emotion. All of these things begin to meld, and that's where we start to have this exchange of energy. And it's in this process we start to recognize more of our nature, the nature of consciousness, the nature of what is this energy that is animating my body and animating my identity. And so with this journey of being same-sex attracted, that union is taking on a different dynamic. It's taking on an exciting dynamic. I mean, it's very, very interesting. And, there's all these blends of energy. And and this is why there is so much stuff around gender identity and identity in general. Because what's actually being experienced is a much more dynamic energy, a much more interesting energy, and which means a much more colorful consciousness. I mean, is it really much of a surprise that the gay flag is a rainbow, right? Colorful consciousness. And it is this exploration of consciousness. It is these different dynamics of same-sex attraction and the different. It's the playing of the dynamic colors, right? And as we play and understand this relationship and learn how to self-express it and own it and be comfortable in it, we pull forth more information to society about what consciousness is and can be. And that's a valuable lesson, because from these different perspectives of what consciousness can be or what consciousness can do, we can teach. We can teach the rest of humanity and society, which is a gift, and it's and when I say teaching, I don't mean get up and we start preaching. It's like, oh, you must be gay, as opposed to the other way around, where people want to convert you, control your energy, tell you what you should be, right? This whole experience of being not non-typical, non-heteronormative, to use labels, which I'm trying to avoid in this whole thing, right? Because I want to, the gay shaman aspect is to bring all of this colorful consciousness into a transcendent perspective, right? Where it is actually about consciousness. It is about the energy within every one of us, which is transcendent of whatever we do in the physical, right? It's simply about respect and honoring for the process, so that we can learn, so that we can all learn from each other, so that we can all evolve. And that's gay shaman. That's gay shaman. And gay shaman could be a DJ. It could be an artist, exploring these colors and taking people with them, being a bridge, a bridge of understanding. And it's tricky in Western culture. I segued from something, I can't remember what I was talking about. It's tricky in Western culture because we've been so bereft, and the shamanic impulse is so antagonized and vilified that if you have any perspective outside of the status quo, then you must be mentally unstable, and you must go to a mental asylum. You must be killed for challenging my paradigm of control. It's unhealthy. It's a really unhealthy outlook at life. When we can't respect people and be comfortable in their own presence and who they are, it's a dangerous place when a society treats authenticity like a disease. That's a unhealthy, and it's a dangerous place, and that's why we shamans exist. That's why they existed in the first place. They're culture bearers. They help bridge. They help teach. They help initiate culture, and through ideas and through transmission of energy, and through being, through storytelling, through energy work, through music, through dance, through ritual, performance. Did I say stories? Through stories. Psychedelics. Clearing out dark energies in spaces, working with the land. And this impulse to do these type of things, or to play with magic, work your magic, is so present in gay culture, because that's already what one is experiencing existentially. Like you come in and you're already out of the norm, and so one has to reconcile that, integrate that, and in so doing, just through one's very being, one becomes a teacher, right? A teacher for understanding consciousness, for looking past the norms, for learning to respect and appreciate. And I would say the principal kind of goal in all of this is to do it with love. To do it with love and a sense of transcendence and divinity and spirituality that unifies us. Because the more we try to identify this certain... Identity is a tricky thing, right? It's a tricky thing. It's a tricky thing because identity, in the grandest sense, is an illusion. Identity doesn't exist. It's just everything is one. It is all one. That's thyself. But paradoxically, at the same time, we are also myself, ourselves. We do have identity. And that dialogue alone is a confusing enough thing. And when our identity shifts, this is when, that's when we change, that's when we grow. And now we're experiencing new lessons. We're experiencing a new way to understand thyself. But it's always about trying to understand thyself. That's always the goal of the identity. It's a vehicle. It's a vehicle for the transcendent to have a unique experience, to understand the world in a different way. So identity serves it serves purpose. It has a divine function, or I would say divine desire or divine will, right? And that divine will is the authenticity. It is the place of self-fulfillment, self-expression, self-ownership, self-love, and from that comes love for others, service to others, expression to others, teaching lessons for others, right? And that's the flow, that's the dynamic of it, right? And so this whole conversation in gay community around identity is beautiful and wonderful, but if it gets obsessed about what is the identity, and it forgets that trying to find the identity is actually about a new way to see thyself, then it becomes the very trap that creates bigotry, creates fear, creates division, and creates calamity amongst humanity, which is what we've experienced for the last 2,000 years because the shamanic impulse has been castrated for a long time and it's been funneled off into secret mystery schools in Western culture. So it's rare. I don't know. Where the gay shamans are. Maybe they realize that making videos like this is not a good idea. I don't know. And it's something that I've been very interested in and called to and resonate a great deal. And if you're looking at this video, you've probably been going what's called through a shamanic initiation crisis, which is a very tricky thing. And there's a wonderful school that I found some great refuge in called the School of Modern Soul Science, and I'll link it in the video below. But it's a revivification of Western shamanism. And it's a great container to go through the shamanic impulse, understand more about the history of what shamanism is in Western culture, and learn more about the legacy of Western shamanism, which is called alchemy. And alchemical mystery schools is the process of understanding the ego, understanding the identity, and distilling it so it becomes pure, and so you're converting the lead, the density, into gold, which is the authentic self. That's when the ego, you understand it enough so it becomes an appropriate vehicle for thyself and the divine to flow through. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to have a guide, to have a structure, because there are so few role models, and it's not natural in culture. Well, it's all natural. It's unfortunate, is what I mean to say, that there are no elders, or it's much harder to find gay shamanic elders, or just shamanic elders in general in Western culture. They'll be in very hidden places. I'm sure they're out there. I haven't found that many, to be honest, but I am sure they are out there. And so we are kind of left with a kind of like a big brother, big sister. We have like a shamanic impulse sibling thing. And when I mean the shamanic impulse, the shamanic impulse, it's from what I've learned in the school of modern soul science, and I resonate with this, it is an impulse from the collective unconsciousness of humanity, the shamanism. And so there are shamanic individuals who encounter this, and a shaman would be an elder who has been able to embody this whole archetype within themselves. But as we're going through the initiatory process, what's happening is we are getting all of these extra impressions on our energy field, on our astral body. So you can pick up sensations, emotions, images, dreams, beings, entities, elementals, just a whole lot of stuff, right? And when it comes into your field, it creates a crisis, because now you have an extra sensorial bits of information within you, and you don't know how to reconcile them, you don't know how to integrate them. And it's that lack of integration which causes the symptoms of shaman sickness, which we would call manic depression, schizophrenia, and those kind of weird, wacky, out there type things. Because as these impressions come in, they become, if there's no patience and there's no guidance in how to interact with them, they become snares for our ego. And I just made a video on snares, right? And these snares will trick us, and then we'll find something like, oh, that's a really shiny bit of psychic information, oh, start using that, and you start then manipulating people with your psychic stuff, and that creates bad karma, and then, you know, it kind of flungs back at you, and you've got this kind of like, yeah, I'm fucking amazing, and God, I could see through time, and then you have the opposite one, like, oh my God, I'm just like, people think I'm crazy, I'm never going to be able to make anything happen in my life, I'm mad, and it's a crazy experience, very crazy. And so it requires a container and a lot of love, a lot of forgiveness, and time and willful energy to be able to create discernment in what are these impulses and how we can use them, how are we when we encounter them, and who are we really, like what is us, what is me, and what are these impulses, and what are these impressions, and how do I learn to witness both of those in a place of non-judgment and discernment, loving non-judgment. And I just felt these were words that needed to be shared for gay shamans, and or gay people encountering the shamanic archetype, because it's a human shamanism. It's a human thing. It's not it's not like a South American thing, or like a Siberian, Northern Russian thing, or you know what I mean? Shamans occur anywhere and everywhere in humanity, because it's an archetypal emergence from the collective unconsciousness. It is a natural impulse of nature to help guide the species, right? It's like, I guess to put it crudely, if you think of like ants, or like hive consciousnesses, there are worker bees, there are birthing bees, and there's a queen, right? There are different there are different types, there are different archetypes. We all, in life, we all come through representing a different facet of what it means to be human, right? That's what we come in with. We represent that. You know, as gay people, we represent the sexual non-normative, right? We represent this almost like higher. I wouldn't say. I don't know if I want to say. I don't want to say higher evolved root chakra, because that doesn't quite make sense. I don't know how it would be higher in any way. But we come in different, and it gives us an opportunity to work with energy, to experience our primal, because all energy is sexual energy, right? And say if you have two men, you know, licking that energy off each other, the dynamic and what they can create energetically and manifest with that is, you know, wild. And then you have all, of course, the blends of masculine and feminine within each dynamic. And it's important to understand that it's important to understand what the nature of the energy is in the physical body, right? Because we all experience masculine and feminine, and, you know, we all have this spectrum within us, right? We all have our own balance, and you can probably see that I have kind of a, I don't know, slightly more masculine, feminine than feminine balance, but I've got quite a lot of feminine. I don't know. I just call it child. I'm just a child. The womb is like the matrix of the universe, right? So, for instance, the electromagnetic field of the planet is like a womb, right? Within that electromagnetic field, it protects us from all of the cosmic radiation, and we sit within the womb so that we can have our experiences. And then we choose to incarnate into a womb, which is like an interdimensional portal, just like the Earth is. It's an interdimensional portal that allows for the experience of consciousness in a specific time and space. And then we go through another one, which is the womb of our mothers, and which we all came through, right? And then we come out, and here we are, right? And likewise, our solar system is in a womb, which is our sun, and then our sun is in a womb, which is the galaxy's field. And then there's a cluster of galaxies like us and Andromeda. Andromeda is in the nearest galaxy is about to collide with ours, right? They're in a bubble. And then there's a whole cluster of galaxies that are in another bubble. So bubbles within bubbles within bubbles, wombs within wombs within wombs. It is the matrix of the universe, right? So, and we all start off feminine in the womb, right? We all start off as feminine. And then an extra process gets added, and that's what creates a man. You know, it's what creates a penis, or the prostate. So the prostate is the descended womb, right? And the testes are the descended ovaries, right? And so the prostate is a reservoir of this divine energy, of this divine womb energy, right? It is a focused, lensed energy, right? So this is where I'm starting to understand how the energy gets worked, right? When we wake up the goddess within us, regardless if you're male or female, when we wake up the goddess within us, we're waking up that matrix, that womb matrix energy. And in the male physical body, that would be the prostate. In a woman's body, that would be the womb, right? And so this is how we begin to work our magic, and to work the dynamics within ourselves, right? And to play with it, right? And how we play with it and what we do with it, you know, is part of our journey, is part of our lesson. It's what we're here to give. It's what we're here to be, to do. it's a very beautiful and sacred and fun thing. And the last piece of exchange I just wanted to share is that that it's something to have reverence for. And the more we can bring conscious awareness and reverence to these aspects within ourselves, the more joy, the more love we bring into our experiences and also into our culture. Not just culture in the society that we're in, but also gay culture. And we can all use a bit more of that, because what makes gay people different in society is just the sexual preference. That's it. So the whole culture is saturated by sex and glam and all these hyper almost vaudevillian things. It's beautiful. It has a place. It's a fantastic resource of creativity. But if we don't have those gay shamans, if we don't have people in the community that respect and understand the sacredness, the reverence and the power, the existential power that is trying to be expressed through us as gay people, then it's just, if we don't appreciate that, we're going to feel even more lost. We're going to feel more lost. We're going to feel more out of place. And we're going to be missing the opportunity that our experience has to help raise consciousness, to move us into a more transcendent perspective of what self means, and to be able to see that and honor that in all that we meet. It's a very beautiful, powerful thing. And it has brought me to tears many times to see when that's not honored or understood or respected in gay culture. And it'll drive you crazy. You will go mad if it isn't acknowledged. And that's why there's so many issues with drugs in gay culture. Because we're so out of place, we're so disconnected to this feeling, to this sense. What else could we do, with all that pain, all that existential root, primal, why am I here pain? So it's important. It's very, very important. And if you've been drawn to this video, you would be in some way encountering that impulse. And that's all I can give at the moment, because that's all I know. But the School of Modern Soul Science is a great place to start understanding this dynamic, integrating it, and when we can move into a place of love and operate from the heart, in the presence of the moment, like what wants to come through, what wants to be here, and we operate from there, then there's nothing to fear. Nothing to fear, because all the answers will be there. And I have one of these as well. It's a Rudraksha seed. It's called a tear of Shiva. And Shiva is the Adi Yogi, the first yogi, the first one who taught us how to create union with the divine in the body. Right? He's very muscular. And he was meditating, and they didn't know if he was alive or not. The only way they knew he was alive was because he had tears of ecstasy from the state of consciousness that he had achieved. And when the tears hit the ground, it became these beads. And if you can see the shape, and this one's a 5-sided one, but the shape looks like cymatics, and cymatics is the shape of sound. It's CY, CYM, matics, cymatics. And so the shape of this seed, would be, I believe, has a resonance with the Adiyogi. It has a resonance with this union between myself and thyself, right? So the way that it spins, if it goes, this is what I learned from Sadhguru, who's another good reference. If it spins clockwise, that is a sign that it's going to help bring you to thyself. If it goes anti-clockwise, it's a more 3D egoic experience. And for me, if it goes up and down, that's a yes. If it goes left and right, that's a no. And so that's my guide. That's my guide. That's been a good tool for me. But we all will have our own processes, our own impulses, and we'll figure it out our own way. And so that's all I have. That's all I have at the moment. And so wherever you are in your journey, I hope you're receiving the love that I'm sending you and the well wishes. I send you many blessings. Namaste.